Brett, do you have a take on how these students are reacting?
You know, I think it's a tough time. I think any reaction right now by the students needs to be thought out and needs to be in a positive manner. And what happened the other night was, and I think everybody was shocked, and we're saddened by the accusations that occurred.
My understanding is you're gathering a group of former players together tomorrow to go to the game. What is your intention there?
You know, again, this is about Penn State football, current, past, getting together and trying to do something positive out of this terrible tragedy. I was reached to by a number of people, and we're gonna, we're gonna try to rally around the team tomorrow. I can't imagine what they're going through, and move forward in a positive way.
And Brett, you played under Sandusky. Did you ever have, this is a question I'm asking a lot of people tonight, did you ever have any moment where you just you paused for a second and thought that's funny, and then you sort of rationalized it away?
Never. It's a total shock to the whole community.
Jill, you've seen the damage and the aftermath of what predators do, but what about Jerry Sandusky's wife? She must have been suspicious, and as those of us that deal with trauma survivors know, or perpetrators for that matter, is that very often women that have had victimization themselves will magically bring victimizers into their life. Do you think something like that is going on?
You know, it's possible, but it's also not uncommon for these men who are predators to be very effective and very slick at what they do. So much so that their own family and own wives couldn't possibly imagine it. So that may be what's going on here. He was very good at ingratiating himself with the people who he worked with, and I don't think his wife suspected a thing.
Well, so much so, Heath, they're so slick. These are like disavowed parts of themselves that most of the day they're in denial about themselves. I think they walk around thinking I'm being a good guy, and maybe a compensation for that bad piece of self they've got stuck in their head somewhere, but they disavow it, so of course no one else gets to see it.
Very true, and I always tell people that hurt people hurt people. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Sandusky was a victim himself as a young boy.
Well, not only, you and I talked about this during the commercial break, not only a victim, my instinct tells me that something happened to him in a shower. In a locker room shower, because that's a bizarre impulse to be needing to put himself at that kind of risk in that kind of an environment. That's bizarre.
Well, you see 2000, the janitor's eyewitness. 2002, Coach McQuarrie sees him at the time. Again, this goes back to this is the frustrating aspect, because I want to help these victims. I want to help these kids, so these kids that were abused by Sandusky don't end up being predators themselves or falling in the same traps that Sandusky has found in. Do we know he was abused as a small child? No.
That's the way that goes.
But the signs are there.
Yeah, that's what happens. Brett, I want to go back out to you. What about the fact that this has been reported and reported and reported, and yet seemingly there was either inadequate attention directed towards these allegations or even a full-scale cover-up? How do we understand that?
You know, it's hard to say right now. I think everybody's got a lot of reaction, and it's all negative. We never saw this coming. I don't think we have all the information to really make a full judgment yet. I really don't. I think that there's going to be more that comes out, and hopefully it's not a cover-up. I've known Joe Paterno and Mike McQuarrie and Tim Curley for a long time, and knowing these men's deportment, I can't imagine that this is a cover-up like everybody suggests.
Hey, Brett, can I ask you one thing? I mean, obviously, you spent 6 years in an NFL locker room. Obviously, your time there at Penn State. For me, a decade in the NFL, all my years at Auburn. The structure of what I saw happen inside professionally run locker rooms, even collegiately run locker rooms by strong-minded coaches like a Joe Paterno. If you survive 4 decades in college football, you know everything that goes on underneath your roof. I mean, you've been in these locker rooms. You know the structure. You know kind of the order, the pecking order that it goes. You also know that Joe Pa, he was the president. He was the AD. He was the man in charge in that university. So give me some insight of how you think that they didn't know.
That's the question everybody wants to know, and I don't know how to answer this. All I can speak to is what an impeccable reputation Joe Paterno has, and I can't imagine a man like this knowing about this. At the same time, it's worrisome that he didn't know about this, and I don't know, and I can only hope that we get to the bottom of it.
Thanks, Brett. Heath, do you think it's possible that he just was too old to be doing the job he was doing? Is that possible that he didn't have full control of the reins?
Let me divide this.
And that he was more of a mascot than actually a head coach. Is that
well,
possible?
I mean, Joe Pa can't possibly be a mascot. I mean, he had power there. He had structure there. It was his way or the highway. That's how you run an organization. But ultimately, when we try to say that he's 84 years old and we back up 10 years ago, was he, in the mental well-being to make a judgment call? The answer is yes. Hands down, yes.
He was.
If he's in any power whatsoever there now, he had the ability to make the right judgment call a decade ago.
Jill, my last question is to you.